On this video, you will enjoy Henry's narration of Hills of San Francisco walking tour. I found out about this from HOSTEL. You'll see amazing neighborhoods like Napier, Tony Bennett statue, Fairmont Hotel, Russian Hill, Macondray, Telegraph Hill, Napier Lane, Coit Tower, Lombard Street, Art Institute, the Beat Museum, the Condor, Saloon, Pizzelle the North Beach, Chinatown, Golden Gate Fortune Cookie Factory, Cable Car Museum, and more.
Alcatraz. The very bridge was completed in less than 5 years.
Alright, we're gonna go there. That's why they have that.
It's the Golden Gate Bridge.
Got a nice YouTube shirt. I definitely know.
According to Google, the whole tour is only about 3.5 miles, so they say it'll take an hour and a half. Don't believe it. If it was just flat, an hour and a half by car. We'll go up some of the steepest streets in San Francisco, and we'll go places most tourists never see. In fact, we'll go places most people in San Francisco never see. Let's see.
Is this going to cover Lombard Street too?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you say who you are, where you're from, what you do in real life, and where you're traveling?
My name is Magdalena. I'm from San Diego, California. And
A list of things to do and things not to do in San Francisco. Obviously, we'll talk about something, but
Across the small European part of Russia,
approximately.com.
yeah, it's like in the middle, yeah.
My name is Ernesto. I've been living in Mississippi for the past 16 years to this date, and I'm a physical therapist there. And I'm just here, first time here, and hopefully that I'll be able to see the most important places. I just got here 2 nights ago.
Okay, that everything I list on. I mean, there are other touristy places I don't list, but we'll talk about that. So I just got back from my physical therapist the other day. We've had one rain day in the last year and a half. One rain day. That was about 2 months ago. That's it. No rain.
And no snow since
No snow.
1976.
Yeah. So what do we do for water? Well, we take it from the mountains.
I thought it snows here once a year.
No.
Oh, not even. That's a long time ago.
Up in Tahoe, you get snow, of course. And LA has had snow more recent than we have. They had a brief flurry in 1980 or 81, but not. It lasted 5 minutes.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't rolled to visit all 50 states.
I've been in most. I think I've got 49 maybe.
49, really?
I'm not sure if I've been in Kansas. If I was, it was just at the airport.
Oh, okay, wow. You're almost to 50.
Yeah, but I'm not going to Kansas just to make it.
Wow. But if it's meant to be, it will happen, whether you like it or not.
Kansas.
So that's the only state you haven't been to?
I think so.
Oh, wow. So you've been to Hawaii and Alaska? Wow.
Well, they're great tourist places.
Yeah. Wow.
And I traveled for business for a while, so that's why I went to a lot of the states.
Yeah. In every state that I travel, I always rent a car.
Oh.
That's my number one rule. But over here, I broke that rule.
If you're going outside the city, like if you're going to the wine country or Monterey, then the car is helpful. Not in the city.
Not in the city. But then since I don't have a car now, the only thing that could save me to visit like the other places far away are the tours too. Yeah. The only thing that is so hard with Yosemite tour is that they want us to meet around 6 a.m.
Yeah, I know. It's
Wow,
a long
too early.
day, long
Yeah. It's not
I did
easy.
that once.
Yeah.
And this time of year, it's not always accessible because they do get snow in the mountains.
Know about it. How about the Muir Woods?
That's accessible.
Are the sequoia trees?
What?
Are the sequoia trees?
Redwoods.
Yeah.
Those are the giant redwoods.
But they're not sequoia trees.
Well, the sequoias are in the mountains, the redwoods are along the coast.
Where could I see the sequoia trees?
Near, the mountains near Yosemite.
Near Yosemite.
To be a city and such a so steep, so hope.
One reason. Very deep harbors for ships. That was the only reason they built here.
It's very hard to build like this, you know. This
Yeah, most cities try to avoid that. Or they go around them, like our streets go right up.
That's true.
So this is called Knob Hill.
Knob Hill.
Sometimes referred to as Stomp Hill, because the rich people used to still do it. That used to be. In fact, the sand dunes got up to 50 meters or 150 feet tall. In fact, we still get wind blowing the sand onto the beaches now. So by the 1700s, the first white settlers came here. Most of the Native Americans lived in the surrounding areas, not so much in San Francisco. It was not considered prime real estate back then. By the 1840s, there were less than 500 people in all of San Francisco. The land at that time belonged to Mexico. So our President Polk contacted Mexico saying we would like to buy California. Mexico said no, so of course we declared war on Mexico, won the war, seized the land, and paid them for it anyway.
What is the price?
But we were very nice. We paid them for it. Anyway, the treaty was signed the last week of January of 1848. The very same week, gold was discovered 150 miles or 250 kilometers east of here. San Francisco lit. Oh, this is a driveway. I keep forgetting. So, as I said, there was gold discovered in the hills about 150 miles, 250 kilometers east of here. San Francisco literally went from 500 people to 50,000 overnight. 95% of them were young men from all over the world. It was truly a Wild West town. Everything I've ever heard was about the Wild West was here. Drinking, violence, lynching, gambling, prostitution, drugs. If you think Americans are obsessed by guns now, back then you had to have a gun for your own protection. There were very few women here, but the ones here had more rights than anywhere else in America. They could own businesses, so the women here typically ran hotels, laundries, restaurants, brothels, entertainment, and some of them became extremely wealthy. And I'll talk about some of them later on. So the city was being developed from here to Bennett. I don't know if you know where I'll show you. So the one area that wasn't being developed was the hills, because when they tried to get supplies up the hills, the horses kept dying on them. A man named Andrew Halliday saw an accident where a cart tipped over, killing 2 horses. He got so upset he said, we have to do something. So he invented cable cars in 1873. Later today we'll visit the Cable Car Museum. And of course that's one of the things on your list to do, you have to ride a cable car. So as soon as he did that, the rich people bought up Knob Hill, built these beautiful mansions. Someone asked about a skateboarder on Lombard Street. Yeah, they do. They're not supposed to. It's illegal, but they do it anyway. Okay, so here are the beautiful mansions they built on Knobs Hill. When we look for them, you'll see they're not here anymore because in 1906 there was a massive earthquake. Has anyone experienced a big earthquake? No, they're not fun. This went on for 53 seconds. The end result was buildings were damaged. The city came through the earthquake fairly well, except when you have an earthquake, even today, gas mains break, water mains break, fires start, no way to put them out. This is a map of the city showing what was burned. Later today we're going to visit Telegraph Hill, the only place on this side of town that has a bunch of older homes. Everything else on this side of town was destroyed. These homes are that direction.
The ones that survived
Yeah.
the fire.
And this is what they look like today, so they didn't change. When we get to the Cable Car Museum, this is just another example of what an earthquake can do. When we get to the Cable Car Museum, they have a wonderful exhibit on the earthquake. It basically looked like a war zone.
Yeah, the bomb pictures.
So the city rebuilt very quickly. They dumped all the rubble in the bay, and then 9 years later they held a World's Fair there in 1915. So the city rebuilt very quickly. Since then we've had one major earthquake, 1989. The Bay Bridge was damaged, so we replaced that. And several freeways were damaged, so we tore the freeways down, which was a great thing. And the Marina District was damaged. Is anyone familiar with the baseball player named Joe DiMaggio?
Yeah.
He had a home in the marina, and there's a video of him standing there behind the yellow tape waiting to be allowed back into his home because of all the damage. Anyway, so hopefully there won't be another earthquake for 30 or 40 years, in which case I don't have to worry. So let's head this way. She's performed an album in B5 and has Alzheimer's, but he still sings great. There's a story about two men, James Flood, who was a bartender, and James Fair, who was a miner. They got together in the bar, they met in the bar, and they said, I hear a lot of good things about silver mines. Let's buy a silver mine. Obviously it worked out for them.
What do you think the material is?
I probably should say the Russians came over from Siberia and went up and down the California coast long before anything was here. And they ended up, later on people found a Russian cemetery very close to here. So it's called Russian Hill. The Russians never really settled here. If you go north of here, now we're an hour and a half north of here, that area was settled by the Russians, so a lot of the names like Sebastopol and so on, Russian River, refer to the Russians. Oh, okay. But they're probably not there anymore. Okay. There is a Russian community at the very western edge of San Francisco. Are you familiar with the concept of rent control? A little bit. Once you move in, you're set. They can only raise it a little bit every year. Like my rent increases have been about 1% a year. So that's very affordable. But once I move out, then they can charge anything they want. And the new person is under rent control. So without rent control, I used to joke I'd be living in my car, but I got rid of my car, so I can't even say that anymore. Now rent control is wonderful. I love it. Because without it, I couldn't afford it.
Not everybody has it.
No, it's covered up with it. But everyone argues over what's the steepest street. There are actually several peaks, but this is the top, Vallejo and Taylor.
Top of Russian Hill.
Are we going to go across the street?
No, going this way.
Oh, okay.
That is, for me, one of the ugliest buildings in town, and it totally dominates the area. So when you go to Alcatraz, they'll give you a headset also, and on the headset you'll hear the former prisoners talking about life in Alcatraz.
Okay.
And occasionally, not very much anymore, because it closed 50 years ago or so, 60 years ago, they have somebody come back and give a lecture, one of the former prisoners. They do book signings. They're heroes. They were criminals, but now they're heroes.
Yeah, you know what? Do they get any profit from that?
Yeah, they sell the books.
Did you know ahead that there's Russian Hill here?
But most,
you only
probably
found
very
it
few
It's my
prisoners
second
still
time
alive
in
now.
San Francisco before I heard about it.
Yeah.
The tower over there will be our next stop after we hit Russian Hill. That'll be
That tower.
Telegraph Hill.
That short tower there.
A lot of people have died making the swim. Recently, well, we have fundraisers where groups will go and raise money like a triathlon, and that'll include swimming to Alcatraz. But it is very treacherous, so you really have to know what you're doing, and you have to be dressed properly. Otherwise, you will freeze. And in fact, we have a 90-year-old guy, I think I have a picture of him still, 90s, I should say, by now, who still goes out to Alcatraz regularly. This is the guy that...
Makes the swim?
This guy's not supposed to be there. The sharks are supposed to stay out in the ocean side. This guy didn't know the rules. He came right over to Alcatraz.
Oh my goodness.
This was snapped by a tourist at Alcatraz.
Yeah.
But normally the sharks are not in the bay. Normally. It's a beautiful Victoria bridge. We have thousands of them. Now we have thousands, but now it's in 1857. It survived the fire of 1906. It is a private home. You cannot go inside.
The only remaining
Octagon
octagon
houses
house.
were trendy in the 19th century, but were now favored because all the open windows and spaces meant you had no privacy. So they went out of favor very quickly. This is the last remaining private home. Near Fort Mason, there's an Octagon House museum you can actually realize. This one I like looking at. Our former mayor used to live near the top of this building. He's now governor of California.
Oh, okay.
Governor.
Governor Newsom.
Newsom.
He was friends with the Getty families, obviously.
And what do you call that again?
Art Deco,
Art Deco.
1930s style. We'll see some other Art Deco buildings. It was nice. Redfield also, and other neighborhoods, are filled with these tiny little alleys. When you walk by, you wonder, is it somebody's backyard? Is it a driveway? So this is one of the more famous. When we get to Telegraph Hill, you're going to see a lot of homes that look like this. Those are pre-earthquake. This was built right after the earthquake, 1910. I look online to find out how much it's worth, but it's never posted because it's owned by the same people for decades. It's rented out to someone. I spoke to someone who lives there. It doesn't get a lot of light or air, but it's a house. When we walk along here, be very careful. It's not even. And while you're looking at the scenery, be sure to look where you're walking because you don't want to. This one got stuck right near here on Super Bowl Sunday, so people didn't get their Bud Light.
Oh,
Wow.
It actually jackknifed and had to be towed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Isolated little paradise right in the heart of the city. And if you like this, you'll love Telegraph Hill, which is even more. This is fairly new.
I might start that in Mississippi then. I might start like that in Mississippi. This is the Macondray. What is that?
It's a street.
yeah.
street.
Redfield.
Redfield. You always look for the
Street.
street sign. So
Redfield Street.
yeah, every year we have the Blue Angels flying overhead, and we have boat races, and this is a perfect spot to watch it.
This is the Hyde Street.
Yeah.
It's very popular, huh?
Like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Takes a giant pair of pliers and grabs the cable, and as soon as he holds on, the cable car moves. As soon as he lets go, the cable car stops. That's basically how it works. Very simple technology, and it works. Got people at the steepest hills. They're very slow, inefficient, labor intensive, break down a lot, costly, but we have it in a charter where we keep them forever. Every other city in the world had this terminology, got rid of them because they were a waste of money. We kept them. Because what would San Francisco be without cable cars?
Icon, yeah.
They're like Paris without the Eiffel Towers. There was the city said they were going to get rid of the cable cars in 1947, and a woman named Frida Kuhlman led a campaign to save the cable cars forever. Otherwise,
Lombard Street.
And now I do it because I love it. It's important.
You must be published like a local magazine.
You know, I did something for Architectural Digest, but my specialization is roses. So I've planted about 40 here. All the backs of the walls. I've planted almost all of the roses here. But I do a lot of rose work outside of here. Yeah, I was on the board of the Rose Society here, and yeah, so I've been published for my rose work, but not for Lombard. Yeah, Jennifer Board.
Okay, thank you so much for the
Yeah, you're welcome.
B-O-R-E-D.
BOA.
B-O-A.
Like surfboard.
Or surfboard.
Yeah.
Jennifer Board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My website is Second Tour.
Secatur. Yeah.
I'm Jennifer.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Jenny. Yeah, nice to meet you too. Yeah, have so much fun. Happy holidays. Thank you. Same to you.
too.
Be safe.
That's the gardener here in Lombard Street.
There have been times when trucks tried to get down the hill and didn't make it.
No.
About maybe 10 years ago, somebody hit that fire hydrant. Can you see how slowly they're going and they hit a fire hydrant? That's why there's a pole in front of the fire hydrant now to protect it from this. The whole street flooded.
Oh, wow.
1928.
It sounded funny, but not for the person doing the gardens at that time because he had to replant everything. And let's see, this is what it used to look like when it was first being created.
What
In the
year?
1922.
Yeah.
Express.
Well, in the 20s.
Oh,
Wow.
And this is one of the photos. Oh, here we go. Every year they used to have a big wheels contest here. They moved that to Vermont Street. Vermont Street is the crookedest street in town. This is not. This is the second crookedest.
But the most famous.
The most famous.
What is the most crooked?
Vermont Street,
Vermont Street.
near 20th Street. But nobody goes there.
Nobody goes there.
They can
Although I
go.
won't there.
And
Yeah.
this again is illegal. They had to
Yeah.
shut down the street because you can't. You'd
Yeah.
be killed if you do it. And I have seen Segway tours going down.
Segway.
Has anyone been on a Segway?
No.
You should try it if you can.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
This is the Lombard Street. Lombard Street. The Art Institute. San Francisco. Arts Institute. Arts Institute.
An original Diego Rivera mural.
Diego Rivera mural. This is what you mentioned earlier.
We'll get to the great time. This is an art school.
Art school. Yeah.
See those three tall buildings?
Oh, okay. That's not from there. Rockaville. Oh yeah, we were there. Rockaville.
church.
Oh yeah. Wow. 666. Number.
Somebody once asked me if they did
Street
that on
number.
purpose. I said, no, I don't think so. It's an Italian bread.
Oh yeah, it's famous.
This is probably a little bit longer, but maybe not quite as steep.
I think the other one was more impressive.
That's the tower you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the Coit Tower.
Oh, Coit Tower. Yeah, there's a sign.
Go down the list and find this one. It's not on there. Don't even bother.
No, it's not there?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Just proof you can put anything you want on the internet. This is one of the steepest streets in town.
Oh wow, it really
That
makes
is also
What's the name of this street again?
Filbert.
Filbert. Oh.
Filbert over there at Leavenworth and Filbert here near the Coit Tower. Anyway, this is originally they were going to paint the bridge Barber Pole or Bumblebee. This is a picture of the 50th anniversary celebration.
Those are people?
Those are people.
Oh, that's a lot of
Several
people.
100,000 of them.
So they opened the bridge for people to walk across?
And that's what they thought, they would just walk across. No, they all assembled on the
goodness.
bridge. There were several 100,000 people on the bridge.
Wow.
They were concerned that the bridge might collapse.
Wow.
And he didn't. Of course not. I'm just kidding.
Still there?
It's still there. Actually, the bridge is built no, the bridge collapsed and they rebuilt it. The bridge is also a name of a movie about people that jump off the bridge.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
popular destination for jumping.
Yeah.
They talked about putting a net up to catch people. I don't know if they've done that yet.
Oh, wow.
If you go to the bridge, you would be able to see. But she donated the money. She was what we would call a fire groupie. She hung out with firemen, played cards with them, smoked cigars with them, chased after fires.
Just like Frida.
Garfield Elementary.
Yeah. Now, of course, they would just dial up Amazon on their phone and order Boulder Eagle.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the treasure island right there.
Anyway.
When they dug a tunnel through Yerba Buena to build a connection for these bridges, they dumped all the dirt in the bay and created a man-made island, Treasure Island.
Wow.
Had a World's Fair in '39, then it became an airport, Navy base. Now they're building a small community there. Similarly, on Yerba Buena, they're building small.
That brick building right there was in the movie Mrs. Doubtfire with Robin Williams.
So now to the interesting thing is, in the 30s, the labor was radicalized for the first and only time in America into the paintings. And people saw that, they got very upset and tore the paintings down. It's a little bit.
Angel.
What you'll see them do is throughout the season they'll open and close.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you're tempted to eat them, I would recommend not, because they're related to the belladonna plant, so they are poisonous.
One picture.
Angel trumpet.
What?
Angel trumpet. Oh,
Or bougainvillea, or bougainvillea, however you pronounce
Yeah.
it. I've had people argue over the pronunciation.
oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
But this is my tour, so they're bougainvillea.
Oh,
Yes,
there
there you
yeah, yeah.
Probably not. It's a terrible movie. But that green one that looks like a castle.
House in Telegraph Hill.
I mean, the movie was made in Los
Wow.
Angeles. How many trees could you plant for $110,000? Planking implies it's pre-earthquake, because after the earthquake they stopped using the redwood. So these typically would be pre-earthquake homes. that survived the fire of 1906. Part of the reason they survived is Telegraph Hill was isolated from the rest of the city, so it spared the fire. But also a lot of people living here, and this is 52. It looks tiny, but it's actually 3 layers. And the reason I know this is one time the door was open when I was talking, they invited us in to get a tour. It has a panoramic window in the back for a nice view.
Second oldest home
In San
in
Francisco.
San Francisco. Wow. It's amazing.
In the old days, original picture of Telegraph Hill.
Wow.
Would you want to build there?
Oh.
Wow.
Now this is another place down Pacifica. I'm sorry, it's not a place. It used to be a place. The hill eroded and it just collapsed.
We came from there, going all the way down here. Farnsworth, Philo. His first name is Philo.
T.
Philo
It's a
Farnsworth.
great surf. Yeah.
This is the laboratory.
21 years old.
These are the self-driving cars.
Banksy?
Original what?
Banksy, B-A-N-K-S-Y. No, that's the artist. Surgically enhanced. When I first did Pizzelle, she would stand on the piano hanging from the ceiling. The piano would be lowered, she would do her act, and then the piano would be raised. And she did her act totally nude. Got arrested several times, was always acquitted. But the interesting story is one night after hours.
I mean, this area is the only area that survived in the 1906 fire here in San Francisco. Pizzelle, the North Beach.
Chinatown is the oldest and largest outside of Asia. Durian?
Oh yeah, in the Philippines, that's famous.
Are you familiar with durian?
Yeah.
Also,
You like them?
I've never had it.
Oh.
It's stinky fruit.
Oh yeah.
Have you had it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very popular.
Yellow in the inside, right? Is that yellow?
Actually, I kind of like it. My sister, she doesn't like the smell.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, in fact. Crap for tourists.
Yeah, I don't have room for that.
For years and decades, this place would They were the best in town.
Okay.
Whenever they were open, there was a long line trying to get in.
And then, yeah, like, and then I'm like, okay, what do I want to do to it? Like, wait.
The alley?
This is Ross Alley. Does anyone remember the Beatles?
The Beatles, yeah.
They played their last concert at Candlestick Park ever in public, Candlestick Park in San Francisco. They had their last meal here at the Rickshaw Inn on Ross Alley.
Wow.
The Beatles, the Candlestick and Rickshaw Inn. Now, but that was back in 1966. So there's one place that's usually got a line for fortune cookie factory. And the last place is where they still make fortune.
This is the Golden Gate Fortune Cookie Factory. And I can grab a free fortune cookie for free taste.
The big one, yeah, $9. How much is it? $9.
Thank you.
Let me see, before you give me that one, let me look around, okay? See what else
Hi.
How many bags?
Just one. I got mine there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I don't know, should I buy a big one or should I buy one of those bags?
I think those ones are, easier to chew.
Yeah? I want it for my nephew.
Yeah. I buy, how much is a bag?
The same price is $9.
Oh, okay.
You want
Yeah.
to try or?
Really one bag. You have the credit card? Okay. I'm buying one bag.
And they basically give credit to a Japanese family by the name of Hagawara that ran the Japanese tea garden for 50 years in Golden Gate Park. They created these cookies to go with their tea.
It is an extra road. Good to see you.
So what happened is they were being handed out by the Japanese tea garden. And probably sometime after the earthquake, when Chinatown, which was totally destroyed, rebuilt, they wanted to make Chinatown more Western friendly. So all these touches that you see, as I said, it's all crap. It was designed to bring in tourists. And of course they latched onto something sweet for the tourists, and so they started serving fortune cookies. And 100 years later, all over the world expect to get a fortune Does anybody have a good recipe for starfish?
Starfish stew.
Look how much it is.
It's expensive, huh? Is it expensive?
What?
It's expensive, right?
Yeah, it looks like you don't know. But everything here is all dried, and usually they put it in soups or stews and rehydrate it.
Wow.
Also, if you're not used to shopping in Chinatown, people will use their hands. So if that bothers you, don't shop in Chinatown. grip person, releases the grip here, he lets go, and they coast.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes they don't make it. They have two options then, to go back, and try again, or get out and push.
Alcatraz. A very big was completed in less than 5 years.
Right, we're gonna go there. That's why they have that.
This is the Golden Gate Bridge. Got a nice YouTube shirt. I guess,